Well, today is all about trust here on the PHLY Sixers podcast as we come to you live from the Xfinity Lounge here on a Friday, heading into a long weekend. Along with Derek, I'm Devon. Andrew sitting in the producer chair today. Kyle and Bree with the days off. All of you in the chat, we appreciate everybody hanging out with us here as we are again now presented by Rothman Orthopedics. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY and Ford. Visit your local Ford store. Derek, what's going on, man? As we hang out here on this Friday, we got to talk about some trust, the trust levels as we head into a very, very important season after arguably the worst season in franchise history based on what the expectations were, and then the 24-win season. We now have to talk about what they are getting ready to embark on and how you feel about the basketball team, where the trust level is from individuals, not just as a team as a whole, but individuals. So who you trust the most and who you trust the least, that's where we're going to start off today and rank the players and personnel people involved in the organization of where you trust people the most in here to turn things around and get it back on track where we're not talking about an 8th seed or a 7th seed and 40 and 42 records. We're talking about something that we were accustomed to speaking about with this basketball team in the Joel Embiid era, where we're looking at them and it is the 50s, it is the high 40s, and it is getting past the second round. Can they do that? How do they do that? The people that you trust the most, the people that you trust the least, to get them back to where you used to talk about them in a much different way. That's where we're going to go this afternoon.
Yeah, it is a tough road ahead. Luckily, the person I trust the most is the guy to my right. So it's good to be here on a long weekend Friday afternoon with you, Devon. But yeah, it is. Look, there's not, and a lot of people are going to talk about like no individual is going to turn this franchise around, right? There's nobody that just has that kind of power, with the exception of Joel Embiid, possibly, and he's got some outside factors. But it's going to take a group collective effort. And it's going to take a lot of people either making, because we're not just talking about players here, right? We're talking about coaches, we're talking about front office, we're talking about ownership, and we'll probably limit it. Like, we don't want to get into the weeds like, well, I trust this scouting director. Like, no, we're not going to go that deep into it. It's going to be the main guys in each department, the main players on the court, but it's going to take a group effort. And it's going to be about everyone. I think we all have varying levels of trust and confidence. It's not just trust. Like, it's not just like, Daryl Morey is a liar. Like, it's not trust in that regard. It's confidence that they will be able to do their job to the level they need to do it in order to turn this around. And I do think it's going to end up having to be a collective effort. I think it's going to be, you could end up getting a lot of people doing the right things. And if a knee or here or there doesn't work out, it might not matter in the short term, right? If enough people make good decisions or make the kind of progress and development they need to make long term, it'll probably work out. Short term, it is going to come down to some health stuff, some knee stuff, some availability, some luck. But, I do think they have a good mix. Like, some guys that I think the fan base has a lot of trust in. Some guys who I think the fan base has either run their course or lost trust in completely. So I think it is going to be all over the map.
Well, I appreciate Gene in the chat simply saying, I trust you guys too.
Appreciate you too, Gene.
We trust you too, Gene, and we appreciate it. We appreciate it. Derek, all right, let's get started. You go first. Where do you want to go? You want to go trust first of who you trust the most, or you want to go with?
I think we'll start off with who you trust the most.
Let's go there.
Make the first half of the show, at the very least, a positive show before we pivot to the reality of Sixers basketball.
Not mad at that at all. Who you trust the most?
I mean, I think this is the easiest of easiest answers, and that is Tyrese Maxey. It is a combination. And look, Tyrese Maxey might not have it in him to make the leap he would need to make to be that focal point. But I'm not necessarily that's not where I'm coming from, right? Where I'm coming from is he going to do everything in his power to get the most out of himself? And maybe he doesn't have the natural court instinct or quite frankly, just the size to see all the passing lanes to be that true top 10 player. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm not going to hold that against him. But the reason that he, to me, is at the top of this list is you have a guy who has made such amazing progress from where he was in college, from where he was as a rookie in the NBA, where he was getting basically benched in Game 5 of the Hawks series before saving the season in Game 6. But you're seeing a guy who put in the work, recognized his flaws, and improved by leaps and bounds because of it. And at no point, even when he hasn't necessarily made the progress that you want him to make, whether that's as a setup man or a passer or carrying an offense, even though there's a lot of asterisks there because he's carrying an offense where like Kelly Oubre is your second best offensive player. But even if you haven't seen the progress as a pure focal point, it's never been from a lack of effort. It's never been from, the wrong reasons, whether that's trying to, take the spotlight or trying to get his shots or selfishness. He's always been about the right things.
Right.
And I have full confidence that he's going to put in the work, that he's going to be accepting of the role, the optimal role, whatever that will be.
And I want to say this too, as we start off with the Tyrese Maxey piece. We do know that after a tough season like they just had, they have a lot of trust that needs to be regained and a trust that needs to be rebuilt with the fan base, number one, and where people feel. Of course, the players have to trust the coach. The coach has to trust the players and so on from the front office on down. But they have a lot of work to do to rebuild that trust with the fan base. And it does go a long way in starting with someone like Tyrese Maxey. Number one, first and foremost, you start off with, can he be healthy? And can he be healthy again to go out there and do what he needs to do? Because even in the beginning of the season, when you knew Embiid was going to miss the start of the season, Paul George had that bone bruise that he aggravated against the Atlanta Hawks in the preseason. Tyrese Maxey struggled out of the gate. And he had to regain that trust because the fan base got a little frustrated and turned on him quickly because the losses were piling up instead of wins. And he regained that. He got that back. He said it himself. Once he cleared his mind and understood what it meant to be a number one option, and unfortunately the L's were taking place, he let all that stuff go and just simply went out there and played basketball. So he regained the trust of the fan base. Now they have to do that as a collective group, as a collective unit, to get that back from the fan base. It's not going to take 2000, 2001 jerseys in the court and all of that stuff to do it. That is way down the list of regaining that trust. It's about wins and putting out a good product out there on the floor and regaining that trust once again with the fan base. So I agree with you, Derek, that Tyrese Maxey is number one when it comes to who I trust the most within the organization. Because while I do still have questions about him being able to carry the load for this basketball team when Embiid and George are missing games, he now has more experience. So if there's anybody that I do trust to prepare for that and not be blindsided by that opportunity and that experience once again, he will be ready. He now knows from the film, and maybe even we already know he'll go out and rebuild his body and all of that to take on the rigors of being that guy, getting the double teams, getting bumped off his spot and things of that nature, but also being a facilitator to make sure that his teammates are getting involved where it's not he just having a blind eye and understanding that he has to take the shots. He knows that he doesn't have to do that. So if there's anybody that I trust, number one, to figure out what problems were there a season ago, correct those issues, and come back into the season and try to put his best foot forward, 1% better like he always talks about, it is him.
And we already have someone in chat, Mr. James saying the Maxey glazing community. There's a weird thing we do in sports. So not everybody can be a top 10 player. There's a weird thing we do in sports where, like, if you exceed expectations by so much, you then eventually, inevitably, disappoint people, right? Nobody drafted Tyrese Maxey and said that guy is going to carry a team and that guy's going to be a top 10 player in the league and an MVP candidate. Nobody, absolutely nobody before the draft said that. No draft evaluators, no GM, probably not even, Tyrese's inner circle said that. So he's gotten to a point where he can make an all-NBA team. He can make an all-star. He can be a number 2 option. We know all of those for a fact. But the fact that he hasn't been able to be like a true top 10 player, a true foundational piece, a true superstar franchise player, and you got people in there being like, oh, well, you guys are just making excuses for him. No, he has exceeded every expectation we had for him. Throughout the first 4 years of his career, he made substantial improvements every year. And because of that, I trust him, which again doesn't mean that I think he's going to be that franchise player. It just means I trust him to do everything in his power to be what the team needs. But you also get people in there upset that he's not someone that he realistically was never going to be.
And James, if you're saying that, the glazing community at all, what level of basketball player did you think he was going to be? Did you think he was going to be that number one that Derek is speaking about? Because I did it. I thought at one point, I believe it was a playoff round. It was maybe his second year or his third year. And I remember in the rare time that I tweeted, Derek, that I said after a playoff game, I said, this guy's going to be a star. And he has turned to be a star. He's an all-star level player. We know that. He is really, really good. And the role that they ask him to be, maybe stepping up to that number one role is not who he is or eventually is going to be when he tops out as a basketball player. But he's pretty darn good. And this show in particular, we don't make excuses about Tyrese Maxey because we were getting, specifically me and Rich, destroyed on a lot of those early nights where we were coming after Tyrese Maxey saying, in this role, you have to do more. He was not. Going 5 for 21 in those losses was not good enough. Finding ways to get more assists and helping out your teammates to get easier shots was not good enough for the low assist totals and the extra passes or the little things that needed to be done. And he admitted to that as well. It's okay for him to still be a young player, and we don't have to put him on the pedestal of Anthony Edwards as a franchise player, as someone in his class, or some of these other young players. He can still be a pretty darn good guy on the basketball team that you want on your squad. He has flaws. Yes, he does. He's not a perfect basketball player, but the glazing is not there. So please, come on, man. That's not what happens here if it's somebody that we trust in this organization to be the player that he is.
It is something. And I hate thinking like this because you should not try to be at the center of every issue. And we can talk about that in the real world or in the sports world. But I do think there's some truth to it where, like, at various points of the season, super pro max people are going to be really pissed off because we will sit here and say he has not been good enough. Mm-hmm. And certainly in the first 2 months of the season, we did that. We got a lot of pushback for it.
Yes, we did.
But then at other points, when you're taking a longer view of it and a view of not only him, but his career, you have people like Mr. James, who's like, no, you guys are giving him a pass. If you are doing your job and willing to acknowledge everything that's going on, I do think you're going to end up pissing off both sides. And you just try to be fair. You try to acknowledge that his trajectory has exceeded all expectations. You try to acknowledge that he is going to put in the work and have the mentality that he needs to, while also acknowledging there will be times where he just needs to be better. You can do both.
You can do both, yes. And James, sorry you missed that particular show where we were coming after him.
It was like 2 months.
Multiple shows, yes, early on in the season. But hopefully, you stick around with us and you watch him when we do talk about him after some really good games when he drops 27, hits 5 threes, a couple of assists in there mixed in, 6 in, they get the W, and we'll see how that goes, as well as the bad.
And I got news for you. When we get to our second and third people we trust the most, they're not franchise players either. It doesn't mean, again, this exercise we're doing isn't who do we think is going to be the best player on the team or a top 10 player. It's just who do we think is going to control what they're able to control to get the most out of them and take the right role with the team.
My turn?
I believe it is, yeah.
All right, let me go next. I'm going to go with the next guy.
Josh Harris.
I'm going into the backcourt. Josh Harris is in the backcourt? All right, he can do.
Certainly got size. He's not a front court player, that's for sure.
Very true. Derek, I'm going Jared McCain on this one because even in the pre-draft conversation that we were having last summer, where I was a little more on the I would draft Jared McCain than you and Kyle at the time, and we all talked through it with Rich on draft night when we discussed it. I trust him to your point, be the player that they drafted him to be, and then maybe even exceed those expectations. So, wow, we only had 23 games in the books to see that type of player, to see that gravity of the shooting, to see the surprising ball handling, the surprising mid-post, mid-work, that intermediate game that he had that wasn't sure that it was going to translate to the NBA. Only 23 games. Yes, I know. But what I do know is that guy's going to work hard. He's going to go out there and he's going to give it everything that he has, and he's going to hit shots like they need him to in whatever role that they ask him to be. So in the event that there are injuries like there were last year, hopefully that's not the case. Can he carry a team just for a game or two when he has the hot hand and keeps them in games? I saw that. So I think that is real. Will he have those games where he has to play a secondary role like we thought he would be as a guy coming off the bench? Because I do think he's not going to be a starter. I think that's Quentin Grimes when it's all said and done. Jared McCain coming in at 6th. Sorry about that. 6th or 7th man, right? Quentin Michael. Can we go there? Right? Pretty good player.
It's been 2 months, man. I can't believe it's been 2 months. Anyway, go ahead.
I think that with Jared McCain, he is one, and even this summer, having the opportunity for us to talk to him on camera and off to the side, where we get a different perspective of what he is. To be a really good teammate, to be there in summer league, even though he's not playing and he doesn't have to be, participating in those summer league practices and still showing that he is, as he, a leader in a sense with those young guys, but one that I trust to play the role that he asks and can step it up a little bit when he has that hot hand, being that connective guy, and also just being an all-around really good teammate for what he is on this basketball team. I trust Jared McCain a decent amount, even with the small sample size that we have.
I think you could have made a case for Jared to be right up there like 1A with Maxey. And the reason I would go Maxey ahead of Jared is just we've seen more from Tyrese.
And he's more the franchise.
Well, both he can make the larger impact on turning the franchise around.
Yep.
And also we've just seen it over a longer time period with Tyrese. Right? We've seen the results of the work year after year in a way that we just haven't, because Jared has only been in the organization for a little over a year with McCain. But with the way he is maybe the epitome of the point I was trying to get across with Tyrese, just because Jared might be the second most trusted person in this organization right now does not mean he doesn't have his limitations. Like, by virtue of his physical traits and what he was born with, he will never be a plus defender. He just 6'2", 6'3" wingspan. We harped on it before the draft, probably a little bit too much. We'll take that L, but there is a limitation that comes along with it.
After my predictions from last year, I got to take that win.
Well, we all take it.
I'll take that win. Okay.
But like, there's just some limitations that he's going to struggle to get through. But man, when you look at him, the way he communicates on defense, frankly, the lower body and core strength that he has to try to make up for his size, like, he is physically stout, and that doesn't come from anything other than work. And he is going to do everything he can to limit his limitations, to make those less damaging, to make sure he can try to overcome them, to play whatever role he has to, whether that's on or off ball, and to give you what he has. He is certainly someone, and this is something that Daryl Morey has done a great job of, but drafting people and bringing in people that you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And Maxey and McCain, Maxey, of course, being Daryl's first draft with the team, McCain being his past year, but to get those hits at both, what was Tyrese 21 and Jared 16? To get those hits at that spot in the draft, you do that in large part because you bet, and you bet correctly, on these being people that you can trust and believe in. So it's not entirely shocking that the way they've developed, we would put them at 1 and 2. Like, their success and how meaningful they are to the organization is directly related to their work ethic and to their ability to buy in and to their attention to detail. And Jared has done everything you could ask of him in terms of trying to be ready for the NBA, everything you could ask of him in terms of being, flexible and adaptable on the floor, and everything you could ask of him, knock on wood, because we don't have a good track record with injuries here, but to come back from that injury and still be in pristine shape and be ready to go for the start of the season. So I think, in part because some other people have either let you down or have physical reasons that you don't trust them. It'll be interesting to see how we weigh that with some of the older people on this list. But I do think Jared is the very obvious second choice here. And again, there's another young kid that I'm sure we'll get to pretty quickly here, but we just have, if my main reason for putting Tyrese over Jared is that we have more experience with Tyrese and more, it being shown to us more and more evidence that is going to lead to stuff on the basketball court. And that would be the same for, I think, what's going to end up being the next person that we get to after this break.
And folks, we came into this where we didn't talk about our rankings.
Not at all.
Not at all. Those first two, they were just pretty easy.
Yeah.
And I think many of us would agree, all of you in the chat, Andrew as well, agreeing that that's the 1 and 2 to start off with. Now, again, there are a lot of question marks with that, but those guys, when you have so many trust issues right now going into the season, I saw Gene saying, I'm starting to get excited about the Sixers. Maybe that's a little blinded by the Eagles getting started. But, I mean, that is what it is, Gene, right? It's when the Eagles started, the Flyers and the Sixers are right behind, and the Phillies are getting ready for a playoff opportunity. So naturally, you're going to get excited. You have your concerns, you have your issues, and you have your frustrations with it all. But when we are at training camp and we're getting ready for a media day or something, you're going to be in because you're interested in finding out. And so, go ahead. I'm sorry. And then
I was just going to say, and part of me, like, first of all, I'm going to be in because it's literally our job to be in.
Yeah.
But also, like, I got my start covering the NBA by covering the draft. And I think watching young players develop is both fascinating and almost impossible to predict. and obviously very meaningful for the course and direction of a franchise. And the Sixers have 3 young kids. Well, Tyrese is youngish, and then
He's
2
25.
legitimately
He's young.
he's young. But
Yeah.
when you're making, on a max contract, I guess you graduated away from being a young kid. But they've got 1 youngish kid and 2 definitely young kids who they have a lot tied to, and they have a real ability to change the direction of a franchise and breathe in new life. And I think that's exciting. And I think that's not just exciting for me, but I think that's exciting for a lot of fans.
It really is. And I'll add to the McCain piece that just us speaking to him, hopefully you all had a chance to see our conversation at Summer League with Jared McCain. But also, man, just speaking to him off camera and how motivated, right, Derek, that he is to get back out there and to get back out there on the floor and compete. He knows he still has a lot to prove because there was only 23 games and there's a small sample size. And he is chomping at the bit to get back out there, working as hard as he is with that meniscus too. Not that let his return affect anything by getting back out there and playing whatever role. And I remember again Tyrese Maxey saying in that he and Watford, where it was the little press conference get together that that they had, the standing up press conference that they had, the media availability, and just the competition that's going to be there. And McCain competes.
Yep.
So whatever he lacks in those things, he competes. You're going to get picked on. Are you going to battle when you get picked on? And that's what he does. And then he's going to make them work on the other end with some things that, quite frankly, he really did surprise us with. One in the chat.
I want to point out before you get there, though, D Flyers, if you're at an event, you owe $1 in the ramp charge.
Oh yeah, you got to put it. D Flyers.
We have not put anything in here yet. We have been really good so far.
We've been really good. Have we been doing it on purpose where we make sure that we don't say it?
I think I've been trying real hard because I don't have any singles right now. I know this will shock you, Darkness. I don't have any singles right now, and I'm not dropping a 20 in that ramp jar, so I got to get some change.
No, absolutely. So before we do take our first break, I wanted to bring up, yes, Drew, we do have our ramp jar. If you ever get caught saying ramp, $1 in the jar goes to some charity that we figure out. I did put Keith B 610 says Maxey has shown an ability to counter the counter move. Jarrett hasn't had to deal with that quite yet.
Yeah.
I agree because he hasn't had enough time, but a little bit untrue because there have been plenty of times where he's gotten caught. And I remember one specific play. I don't remember the team. I don't remember the player. I do remember that it was at home. And that's where we saw him with that elbow extended fadeaway because of the base that he has, that lower base and how strong it is, a lengthy defender able to get that extended arm out there and try to disrupt that shot. He was still able to get that up because of what he talks about, Keith, that footwork, knowing that he's a 2-foot jumper instead of just being a 1-foot jumper. He can do both. So I think that's where his one counter is that has worked in the 23. Now, where I will agree is he's going to have to find some of those other counters. Maxey has counters that he still has to improve on too. Even at 25, being an all-star, he still has counters that he has to.
You still see him where just decelerate a little bit. You don't have to go all the way into the paint.
And he's not Tony Roten, so we don't have problems there. We're good.
Thank goodness for that.
We're good, but he still has others where sometimes he still is going too fast and he needs to just decelerate or make that. We talking about, how much did we say? That mid-range shot. Hey, it's your friend. You can do it. You're a star in this league. You can take mid-range shots. It's the other guys that are not stars that the analytics don't agree with, and of course the coaching staff maybe even in that case. All right, quick break. We come back. It's our first one of the day. We come back. We get into our third. We agreed on the first two, Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain. We haven't talked about who we don't trust as much as well. Not that we don't trust them. We just don't trust them completely, maybe. There. And we'll get into those right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast, live from the Xfinity Lounge.
Guys, if you've ever gotten over to a friend's house, ready to watch a big game, you get there and their setup is a complete mess. It's lagging, it's buffering, and he's switching between apps trying to find the game. He claimed he was a big bit fan, but you feel like you have been tricked by his setup. And also, I'm a little bit of a stickler because I take a lot of pride in my setup. Because you see, if you call yourself a basketball fan, you got to have Xfinity. It's the ultimate sports destination. You can find the best games and favorite team all in one place. And the way I watch, next level. Got all the action right in my living room, plus Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K. So clear, it feels like I'm in the arena. Sometimes we've got 4 games going on once because we're all trying to do our job. On top of that, I get real-time notifications and live stats right on my TV. It's the best seat in the house every time. Next game, make sure that big fan isn't a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K cable TV box.
And folks, we have to speak about our new sponsor on the show, and that is Ford. Yes, Ford. Let's talk about the F-Series, the legendary Ford F-Series, the best-selling trucks in America for how many years, Derek?
48.
There you go.
I knew that.
The F-150 blends work, ready, toughness with modern tech and luxury. Offers 6 powertrain options, including a hybrid, if that's your deal, and a fully electric Lightning model. The 3.5-liter Power Boost hybrid V6 delivers 430 horsepower, and a fully electric Lightning model. I don't know why when I said horsepower, I thought of 2 Chainz. I don't know. That's just me. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. Best-in-class towing of up to 14,000 pounds, depending on configuration. Also, the Pro Power onboard turns your truck into a mobile generator, perfect for jobs, sites, or tailgates. Getting ready for that football season. Military-grade aluminum alloy body, tough, lightweight, and corrosion-resistant. Max recline seats offer nearly 180 degrees of recline, great for naps or breaks. Tailgate work surface, carpenter's dream, rulers, clamps, and more built right in. Available FX off-road package brings skid plates, off-road tune shocks, and the locking rear difference. How about that? This is Ford. The Ford Blues Cruise hands-free highway driving system is available on certain trims. For more information for all of this, for the F-Series, you want to get out there, F-150, whether you want to go more of the hybrid or fully electrical model, or you want to go with the old model, the original model, Ford Tough. For more information, visit your local Ford store. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast here on a Friday. Derek Bodner, Devon Givens hanging out with you. We do have to tell you, though, before we get to our third person we trust, or maybe just, a little less trust just because we're going down the order. We got to tell you about our great deal that we have going on here right now. $36 for the intro offer special to join, to become a diehard member here at PHLY, so you can get all the written content. You get a great T-shirt to start things off ahead of the football season. That $36, $3 a month to become part of the football club and the football club special. You get the free football club T-shirt as you sign up. Written content on the Birds, Flyers, Sixers, and Phillies right here to become a part of the community. You can also jump in on the diehard community on the Discord, as well as being able to join us for any events that we do have upcoming as a diehard member. So sign up right now, limited time, $36 football club special. Get the free T-shirt, wear it at the link, at the tailgates. Get ready right here at allphly.com. All right, let's get to number 3.
All right, number 3. Kyle Schwarber. Got to go to another team.
Listen, man, I got to take a little bit of it, give him a little scratch there on that one, because when he's up at the plate with a position player in the 8th inning and he has 4 home runs, I know you are chomping at the bit. You're drooling to hit that 5th home run. He got a little excited when that thing was going down there, 36 miles an hour, and then he popped it up. I was like, oh, come on, Schwarber, what are you doing, man? That was the easiest one that he had last night. But no, that was great to see.
It was incredible.
It was incredible.
And look, obviously,
9 RBI,
I don't think his skill set translates all that well onto a basketball floor. Not exactly the fleetest of foot, not a whole lot of coordination in terms of movement.
Spot up shooting, man, lefty.
Man, when he squares up a baseball, it is art.
What is he, 49?
49, yeah.
So do you think he's going to catch Ryan Howard with the 58? Because I initially thought so even before last night. Man, he's at 49. They're at home.
I mean, 9 is not impossible.
9 is not impossible. They have the whole month of basically the whole month of September. Yeah.
It's wild. Yeah. It's been an absolutely amazing
I at least think he ties him. I don't know if he passes him, but I think he ties him. I do.
All right, I guess we have to.
John Middleton.
Yeah, pay that man.
Man, you should have paid him last summer.
Yeah, you screwed up.
I mean, last offseason.
You done messed up.
Oh, yes, you did. But now you just got to pay him.
All right, back to the team we actually cover. I think at this point, it still has to be someone on the court, because the people on the bench and in the boxes are a little. So I'm going to go with VJ Edgecombe.
Without even a minute played on the floor.
Without a minute played on the floor.
Edgecombe. Okay.
Which, again, I understand that. Like, there's a combination of you do typically have to do something on the floor to gain trust. And also, like, when rookies come in, you usually have a rosy view of them, right? Like, there's always a cycle. We saw this a lot with Iguodala, where, like, you come in, everyone loves you. They appreciate you for who you are and what you bring to the table. And then a little bit like Tyrese, where, all right, they appreciate you for what you do, but if you grow past a certain point, then they start focusing on what you can't do. So I do think this is one where, like, unless you end up developing into a top 10 player, people eventually become frustrated with you. That being said, I think going back to what I said about Tyrese, where I don't necessarily say, I'm not sitting here saying I think Tyrese is going to be a franchise level MVP caliber player, but I trust him to put in the work and have the perspective he needs and the attention and detail he needs to maximize what he can do. I have the same trust with VJ Edgecombe. And, he's clearly put a lot of work in improving his game over the last 5 years, improving his game since coming into the States. He bought into an largely off-ball role for Baylor, even though he clearly wants to have the ball more. He's put in a lot of work to improve, a lot of work to take care of his body, and he defends his tail off. And when you add those three things up, I think, look, we will sit here and we will spend a lot of time talking about what his true upside is. And I think in part, he still has to define that to some degree. I think a lot of us, even though he was a third pick, weren't sitting here telling you he's going to be the next, Jimmy Butler. We weren't sitting here telling you he's going to be the next Donovan Mitchell. But we believe in the work ethic, we believe in the approach, and we believe ultimately in the kid. So that's why he would be number 3 as well. And also by not being here, he hasn't had a chance to disappoint us yet.
Yeah, clean slate. Yeah. I mean, again, all draft picks, it's all good until it's not.
Yeah, yes.
So when he gets to game 20.
Expectations, man, they can really. Oof.
Yeah, game 20 and you're sitting there with a 13 and 15. Game 19, you're sitting there with a 13-15 record, and it's a close game, and he does something to help lose the game, then
which he will. He's a rookie.
It's going to happen, and VJ Edgecombe is going to take that heat from the fan base and, of course, here on the show as we look at that. But I don't think, again, that I can disagree with you here because with so many questions, it's funny because I see Winona's name in there in the chat. Hey, Nona, she says, I don't have much question mark. I have many question marks for this basketball team. That's a great approach to have as a fan when you walk into a new season and everybody says, yes, 82-0. But realistically, we know everything is not perfect. And everything.
So you're taking the under on 82?
I'm taking the under on 82. Everything is not going to be perfect with VJ Edgecombe, but I agree with you because things have been so disappointing from last summer to where we are right now. And the question marks that I have and Derek has, Kyle has going into this season, that you do look at the bright spots and push them up, even though, I mean, look, he's the number 3 pick. So you have to have some sort of faith that the number 3 pick is going to be one.
If you took someone with the 3rd pick and you have any faith in them, you might have,
So that's where the trust does come in. Now, once we see the ball bounce, once we see some made shots, some missed shots, some missed defensive assignments, and things of that nature, then he's down on the list. But early on, I really don't have much to add to it, to what Derek said, because, again, it's such an open page. It's a blank page of what it is. You just simply put him there because he is the number 3 pick, and there are things that you like. You just hope that he comes in and understands his role like he says he does, whatever that may be. Elevate it when the opportunity presents itself because he has earned it in that particular game. Everyone gets a hot hand. Everyone does certain things to garner that opportunity to be out there on the floor because the coach calls his number to close out a game or maybe get a start here when someone's injured, things of that nature. He is going to disappoint at times, and we have to be ready for it. But as of right now, he hasn't done that. And even in Summer League, he did some really good things that we can see translating. Like, we are always, because he only had 2 games, we're always going to go back to game 1 against the Utah Jazz. And he started off cold, started off poorly, and then he turned it around. He picked it up.
One little scoop layup in, next thing you know.
He felt good. And remember, he even said that to us. He was like, ironically enough, it was that scoop layup that got me going. As difficult as it was, he said that was the one that got him going. So with that, I agree with you that I do trust VJ Edgecombe in this spot.
All right. I'm going to put some conditions here on your next selection.
Okay.
Because we are 35 minutes in and we have to get to the big guys. So I understand we all probably trust Justin Edwards and a Dembona and some of the young kids that are left, in part because they haven't done anything to cause us not to trust them, but we got to get to the big five. So we've got Daryl Morey.
Yes.
We've got Nick Nurse. We've got Josh Harris. And we've got the two high-paid stars in Embiid and Paul George. So who do you got? Who do you trust the most out of that fivesome?
So where I will go next is Nick Nurse.
Okay.
And I go with Nick Nurse because no one saw a 24-game season coming last year. No one saw the Embiid injury taking place in December the year before, when Embiid was on a run to, as you said, lock in that second consecutive MVP because he was that good. He was doing that under Nick Nurse with what we saw Nick Nurse devising up. It's not a lot you really have to devise when you have Joel Embiid as that type of guy, and you can run that pick and roll with he and Tyrese Maxey. But he did do some good things there. I thought he had an okay stretch a year ago. A lot of what we've talked about in criticizing Nick Nurse, the other thing that I know that I have pointed out, and the guys have pointed out as well, and some of you, is that all of this is not on him because of the injuries have taken place.
Right.
He could not control. He could not control that. Was I disappointed in certain things with the offense of not having more than two offensive looks out there when Joel and Paul George were down and you couldn't figure out a lot of other things, or when George and Maxey were out there and we kept seeing the same types of dribble handoffs and a little bit of a generic offense that we didn't see a lot of creativity from the Toronto days? Yes, I agree with you. And as I see, it's my guy saying, I don't trust Nurse. Fair.
We're not. If we had full trust in Nurse, he would have been in the top three selections.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about the five, whether it's Harris or Morey and the two star players and certainly Nurse, this is where I lean Nurse, because now, while we talked about him being on the hot seat a year ago, I want to see him again at the start of the year with a healthy roster to really, really evaluate what he does with the collective group. And if things go sideways with the two stars that we haven't mentioned yet, what does it look like? And now leaning towards Maxey, McCain, Edgecombe. I won't say Grimes, even though I just said Grimes. What does it look like? Are you pivoting that way where we do get to see some of those three-guard lineups with everything else? Do we see a more fast-paced type of team?
Mm-hmm.
Do we see a different type of offense there? What does the defense do? Nick Nurse, we gave Doc Rivers a lot of flack. But when he was down, we also gave him credit for, man, those dudes play when Pat Beverly has to drop 29 or Marcus Morris is dropping 30 and they're in games and they're close, or they win those games. We have yet to see a lot of that. So Nurse would be my choice for this next spot.
So we got to our first disagreement.
Okay.
And look, I want to be clear here. In this group, just because we're ranking them, I trust them the most out of these five. They've all given us reasons to distrust them.
Absolutely.
Right? They've all been either imperfect or at times incompetent, or like Joel Embiid. Like Joel Embiid might be, because I actually believe that he was putting in a lot of work last year to try to lose weight, to try to put less pressure on that knee. But injuries and being able to play through injuries, not even play through injuries, because that makes it sound like it is a toughness thing, but just your body failing you is a part of trust. All right? I can't trust he's going to produce if his body fails him. It might not be his fault, but it'd be tough for me to put Joel. If Joel Embiid was the one I trusted the most out of this group, I would have sky high expectations for this team, because he's the one that can actually turn this team around in the short term. So it would probably be Joel Embiid, but we're taking body and reliability and his body failing him into account. So out of the remaining ones, I trust, this is going to be very unpopular. I can feel it right now. I trust Daryl Morey more than I trust Nick Nurse. I think the number one thing Daryl Morey has done that is leaving a sour taste in people's mouths is that Joel Embiid extension. And look, that Joel Embiid extension is bad. It was unnecessary. But you would still be disappointed and pessimistic about the season, because remember that extension was only 2 additional years. He would still have 3 years left on his contract even without that. You would be screwed right now, even if Daryl didn't give Embiid the extension, and no matter what else Daryl Morey did, right? Even if you went the role player route right now instead of going Paul George, like let's say you went KCP and a big man or something like that, you would be screwed if Joel Embiid can't get on the floor and stay on the floor. I think, for the most part, Nick Nurse disappointed me a lot last year.
Yes, he did.
To come into the season and know, you knew in your heart of heart, even if Joel Embiid responded well to that injury, he was going to miss 30 games at the very least, right? They looked like they had no plan to play without Joel Embiid last year. None at all. And what Nick Nurse was doing all summer, I truthfully do not know. And the combination of that, his unimaginative offense in his latter years in Toronto, when Nick Nurse didn't have Kawhi or prime Kyle Lowry to bail him out, or DeMar, of course, as well, his offense looked very, very, I don't even want to say pedestrian. It looked uncreative in Toronto. And we saw a lot of that this past year as well. So I look at it, and Nick hasn't done a lot to inspire confidence in me really since, I don't want to say 2019, because I think 2020, they had a great year as well. But at least Daryl Morey has done, like we just talked about the three people we trust the most, right? Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, VJ Edgecombe. Daryl drafted all of them. Mm-hmm. Daryl has made good moves. He hasn't hit 100, and some of the mistakes he's made could be very damaging. But he has made, I've said this time and time again, if you had to trade Paul George right now, it might cost you a first-round pick to give up. Maybe at most like a first-round pick and a heavily protected second pick. If you want to trade Jared McCain right now, you could get those 2 picks back just from Jared McCain. Hitting on draft picks is more consequential than having, let's say, 3 years of Paul George at a bad salary. It just is. And for Daryl to hit that much in the draft, look, we don't have any great options left, right? You've got a big man who has very little meniscus left in his knee. You've got a coach who's on the hot seat. You've got Paul George, who's 35 and just had 3 knee injuries. And you've got Daryl Morey. Like, Daryl Morey has had a very, up and down track record. He has a lot of things that you can nitpick. But I think of the guys left, he's done the most to at least say, all right, he gives me reason to believe that he can make good decisions going forward.
That's fair. And I give him credit for how he's handling the Quentin Grimes situation right now.
They have a lot more leverage now than they did 2 months ago.
Yes, he did. So I give him I give him credit for that too. And he was going to be my next choice. So I don't know if Nurse was going to be after Morey for you, but Morey was going to be my next choice after Nick Nurse on my side. So I can push back a little bit more on the other side. You guys certainly are in the chat or agreeing with Derek. We'll do that. We have to take our final break because we've been rolling along talking about this discussion. Who you trust the most to the least. We got the players in, and now we're on the other big guys, front office, coaches as well. We'll do that and finish up on the other side right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
And look, guys, I don't know if Ace Hardware has the kind of expert you need to fix a basketball team, but they do have what you need to help fix your house. If you've got an outlet you said you would fix last summer at Ace Hardware Home Services, they've got the person to fix that. Because now they're not just the helpful hardware folks, they're also the helpful home service and repair folks. From plumbing and electrical to heating and cooling, they've got the trusted pros that keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services, to bring the helpful home, the helpful you love, from the store now to your front door, from Philly to the Jersey Shore. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get you started on your next project.
And Derek was mentioning knee surgeries. So, there's a lot of knee surgeries in this area.
Cue up Devon.
So
Mr.
let's
Glass.
talk about our presenting sponsor on the show, and that is Rothman Orthopedics. As we are closing out the month of August, we're going into the holiday weekend within, transitions into the start of the fall. Hey, gang, you might have had a tough summer where you've just fought through some things saying, I'm not going to let this thing bothering me that's been lingering and these little issues. Well, Rothman Orthopedics, they are there to help as you get into it. Let me go check this out, and maybe I can take a week off from work now when I get back because, hey, the doctor told me to stay home, courtesy of Rothman. So from aches and pains after a pickup game or rock climbing or whatever you're doing in the summer that you enjoyed yourself, but some things, you got to flex that shoulder or you got to constantly massage that knee or that calf. You don't want to have those problems with the hammies, and then it crops up on you when it starts to get a little closer. So that's where our experts come in from Rothman with evidence-based care and a commitment to restoring your mobility. They'll get you back out there, and they'll do so by getting you stronger than ever. So we've all been there trying to power through it all, and it catches up to us. So when you do have to go in year over year, why Rothman? I'm speaking about them because year over the year, Rothman consistently performs. Yes, I do. Among the highest volume of hip, knee, shoulder, and ankle replacements in the country at over 60,000. I'm pretty sure that's why I'm the one always talking about it, because they come to me and say, Devon, we're partnering with you here too, as well as the rest of the team on the PHLY Sixers show, because you're the one that's always banged up. So if you're like me and you get banged up by playing these sports and doing these things, you got to go get checked out with the right people, and that is Rothman Orthopedics. So head to rothmanortho.com/PHLY and schedule your appointment today. That's Rothman Orthopedics. Your summer, now your fall, your mobility, their mission. All right, welcome back to the show. Let's keep it going, because we're 4 people in, 3 players, and 5 people in, because now we've gotten to the head coach and the front office with Daryl Morey. Was Nurse going to be your next one if you went in that order, or were you going with someone else?
Probably it would be Nurse, yeah.
Had to be, because even when you talk about Embiid, which we haven't gotten to yet, it's hard to trust the other guy too, because he's banged up after signing his new extension.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's probably Nurse.
Yeah.
And look, I've been very disappointed with Nick, not just in the 2 years he's been here, but really like the last 2 or 3 years in Toronto as well. He did some great work with Toronto from 2017 through about 2020. And you do have to acknowledge that. The creativity has not been what I hoped for. The offense specifically has not been what I hoped for. But he did a lot to get them over the hump. He did a lot to modernize them when he first got there. And certainly, did a lot to get them to overachieve in the first year or two post Kawhi.
Yeah.
And look, part of my thing, and this has gone back years and years and years and years, from Brett to even Doc, even though we had a pretty adversarial relationship. I think a lot of times coaches get a lot of the brunt of the frustration. And if you disappoint, they're just the easiest lever to pull and the easiest thing to change. So you go, all right, I understand we can't change the whole roster, so let's change a coach and see whether or not we can get this back on track. All it does is cost your owner money. But, I do fundamentally think he's done good stuff in the past. He's disappointed me over the last 5 years or so. But again, you're talking about some very imperfect options. So yeah, I think he's probably next on that list.
His first 2 years, while he's had his hand in some of the issues that we're concerned about, it has not been a clean.
No, there's only so much. He moves margins. There's only, you might have been able to get 10% more wins with a better strategy, but you weren't going to fundamentally change a 24-win team into a 40-win team just from the coach.
No, not at all.
Like I said, a lot of my frustration from him last year comes more from October and November, when you weren't ready to give up on the season and you expect them to be more prepared to win games without Joel Embiid, and they just didn't look like they were. Whatever happened after mid-January, who gives a darn?
Yeah. We do have a super chat that I know I saw Andrew throw up there a little bit earlier. Let's get back to that one. Drew Marcus Blackstock saying, just make sure our fries are in the bag, Mr. James 27, from the earlier comment.
And here's what I'll say about Mr. James 27. He was respectful afterwards. He was like, all right, I see your point.
Yeah.
I understand. So I don't want to sit here, and we appreciate you sticking up for us, Marcus. But I also want to give a shout out to Mr. James for having a, respectful and a good discourse between us.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's go to the next one, since Derek went with Morey. Let me see where I go here next, because it does lead into the other 2 guys. And who do you trust the most out of those 2?
Well, there's also Josh Harris. We're throwing Josh Harris in the mix.
Honestly, I'm not going to.
Spoiler, Josh Harris is not next for me.
No, he is not next for me either, even though he lets them spend the money. No, he is not next either. Wow, where do I go next? Because we already ruled out Edwards, Bona, those guys. Oh, man, this is rough.
Yeah, no, you can't take the easy way out and take the young kids anymore.
No.
We got to go to the real players now.
Because do I want to say Quentin Grimes here? But
no.
You can't tell me I can't go Quentin Grimes.
You've got 3 major players left in the organization. You got to pick between them.
That just means it might be that bad that I don't trust them, and I trust him more.
Answer the darn question, Devon.
That said, I trust Joel more than I trust Paul George.
Yeah.
Because I know when he is out there, I am going to get 23 plus. I'm going to get that stuff. And I don't know that I can trust Paul George as much on the other end after seeing what we saw for the 41 games. So
Yeah.
There's not a lot really to speak about why. It's just the 8 years of great basketball that we have seen out of him that I know even when he was injured in the 19 games that he played last year, that I saw stuff where Paul George had 41 and I saw a lot less. He had that good stretch that you talk about. And the ones that always stand out to me is the Charlotte game, the 2 New York Knicks games in Philadelphia. Other than that, it's really tough for me to pick out things that I saw from Paul George a year ago. So that's why I go Joel Embiid, even with 22 less games played.
I agree with you. And he was where I would have gone to. To your point, Paul George, let's say Paul George gives you 60 games and Joel Embiid gives you 35. Not a great year for either one.
No.
You're probably disappointed.
Although I will take 60 games from
But
Paul
at
George.
least it's the 35 that I'm not.
Yeah.
At least in those 35 that Joel's there, you know he is going to impact the game in a significant way. Paul George, even if he misses, let's say, 22 games, he might be a virtual bystander for another 20. Mm-hmm. And Joel Embiid, good or bad, he's never a bystander. And he might not be able to sustain it for as long as you want. He might not be able to play 3 games in 4 nights or 3 games in a week or 18 out of 30 in a month, which I don't know why I just find hysterical. But when he's on the floor, you are going to feel his presence and he is going to lead the winning. Maybe not as much as he previously did. I do still have that January performance where defensively he was getting picked on in ways we've never seen Joel picked on before.
Yeah.
But he will leave an imprint on a game in a way that you don't know that Paul George will. And I'm very Paul George was great his final season with the Clippers. He really was. And I think at times he can be a little underrated career-wise, but like that two-way wing, who I do think the defense was actually pretty good there last year. Maybe not, like number one option defending ball stopper defense, but like really good, really versatile. Mm-hmm. I think the shooting will come back, but I just have lost trust both in his ability to stay on the floor, which I hope he proves me wrong, and also his ability, his burst physically. Like I think the injuries and the age, like he's 35. Like we talk about age, like he lost a step from injuries, probably lost a step from age too. And what we saw last year with the burst, I'm just not confident he's going to be. I think he could be good this year.
Yeah.
But I think he almost needs to be like, I think he might need Joel Embiid as much as anyone now. And so if you're saying like he might end up being a really great third option and struggle when he's asked to be more, almost by definition, that means I trust Embiid to leave an imprint more.
Because he's either one or the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he's out there, he's the one or the two. And you can't say, even there might be nights where Quentin Grimes has a better stretch of a week or two with Paul George, even in the lineup, because he's healthier, he's younger, and he can score, where Paul George, he can do so many different things. And it really, I really figured this out with you when we were talking about just in passing, in conversation during the show. And I said, could he get back to 21, 22 points? He averaged 16 last year.
Yeah.
If he's healthy and he's making those shots at a better clip, getting to the free throw line, he might just simply, by rule of basketball of how it goes, creep back up to 21, 22. And when you and Kyle both agreed that it was more like, yeah, he's probably an 18-point per game player, that's only 2 points extra than what he averaged a year ago. More games you would hope, like the 60 that we talk about versus the 41 that he played a season ago. But man, a 16-point player, that's not what you signed up for. 16, 5, and 5 is not what you signed up for.
I mean, that might have been what you signed up for in like years 3 and 4 of the contract, because you knew he was going to struggle a little bit. No, and for one to be such a disappointment. And look, I say this a lot. I really hope I'm wrong. Sure. Like, I hope that any concerns I have about his burst and his ability to get by his defender ends up being just, oh, well, he was dealing with the bone bruise in the knee all year. It never really felt right. It's not about age. It's not about cumulative wear and tear of those injuries. He can get back to where, maybe not where he was with the Clippers, but somewhere in between where he was last year and where he was with the Clippers. I hope I'm wrong. And I'm not saying there's no chance I'm wrong, but this is a show about trust. I don't trust that he is going to be that guy.
What are you looking for though with that burst as a player putting the ball on the floor? What are you looking for? Because I have said it already. Just no surprise, everybody. I disagree with you a little bit on that, because I think with the experience, with the age, what he knows how to do with that footwork, it's one that grows with your game as you get older, where yes, the speed is no longer there, but the craftiness of it is there.
Sure. No, and that's where, like, I really hope, first of all, I hope someone like Joel Embiid is playing to draw double teams. And I hope he's making enough of his catch and shoot shots where people are closing out on him quickly. That makes, getting into the paint a little bit easier. And that's where, like, if someone's attacking you on a closeout, that's where a little bit of your finesse game, a little bit of your side-to-side game and your shiftiness can help you overcome that lack of burst a little easier than it is just coming off of a pick and roll or, straight up ISO. Look, he's good. He's talented. He has a lot of counters. I do worry about consistency, though, when you're relying on it. I would love to see a little bit, he right now seems like he needs not just a first step to get by guys, but and not even just a second part, but like a third and a fourth dribble to really start building up steam. I'd just like to see a little bit more on that first step to try to get separation.
As long as he's not, dribbling the air out of the ball. Yeah. That's all. I'm cool with that because as long as he's not dribbling the air out of the ball, and with those counters too, are those passes that he makes at that position to find Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, others to get those shots up.
Is PG above Josh Harris on your list?
So yes, he is. Okay. And I was going to ask you, who do you trust more, Josh Harris, Andre Drummond, or Kelly Oubre?
Oh, God. Well, unfortunately, only one of those three really impacts the franchise.
And that's Josh Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
look, I've gone on a couple of rants here over the last month. It feels like, during August, we have done a lot of retrospectives on the last decade. Part of that's my fault as we're building shows. I enjoy it both because, a trip down memory lane is sometimes fun, even if painful. And also I'm frankly a little bit pissed off at how everything has played out. And I think it should have been better. And I blame Josh Harris for a lot of that. And that's not necessarily going to change here going forward. And it is also one, like, of these three, Josh Harris, of pretty much anyone here, Josh Harris is going to impact the team less than almost anyone. He'll impact them a little bit, in part because of his willingness to pay the luxury tax, which I do think if they are a good team, he will pay the luxury tax. Like if they have an above average team, I think they will be willing to stay in the tax. But in terms of moving forward and doing what you need to do, if the Joel Embiid era or the era of Joel Embiid being an impact player is in the rearview mirror, Josh Harris is the most important person on this list. So for us to be sitting here talking about him in the 57-minute mark on a show where we're ranking from the most trust to the least trust really shows how concerned I am about the franchise going forward. Because I do, and this is also part of why, and people didn't love it, I put Daryl Morey ahead in this bucket of 5 people because of the draft picks. The draft picks are the thing. If you are moving on from Joel Embiid, the draft picks and making the right decisions are of the utmost importance. He has done that, so I give Daryl a little more trust than anyone out of the rest of that 5. But Josh is the one who drives all of that. Josh is the one who figures out who he's going to let run the franchise. Josh is the one who figures out the direction. Josh very frequently is the one who figures out they're going to hire a head coach before they hire a GM. And you need stability. You need vision. You need good decision-making and good temperament. You need the willingness to go through, maybe deal with some tough public pressure. And Josh has shown almost none of that.
Except for with Washington football team.
Yeah, well, we cover the other one, so.
All right, fair point. By the way, it's a runaway. They trust Kelly Oubre more than the other two in the chat. I mean, it started to run off. Oubre, KO, Oubre, Kelly. It just run off like 7 straight of they trust Kelly Oubre more than the other 3.
I don't trust Kelly's decision-making offensively almost
I was just letting you know.
I don't trust his shot. I trust him to defend his tail off. I have to say tail because we're still 40 seconds
I just say
away from overtime.
He competes.
But he will compete. I will absolutely. And that's the one thing where if you go back and look, I wasn't in love with the Kelly signing. I was like, I understood the risk because he has the talent. When they originally brought him in.
Okay, the first one.
I was like, great, it's a minimum. I don't necessarily love his game, but it's a minimum, so it's worth it. Yeah. But I turned real quickly because of that defensive effort, and that effort has maintained itself.
Yes, and we are quickly going to run into a little bit of overtime here, folks, on this Friday as you head into the weekend at allphly.com. So we thank you on the television side. We appreciate it on the Fast Channel all week. Join us next week, Tuesday at 3 p.m. right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. All right, so yeah, a lot of Kelly love there in that mix. A lot of Kelly love. So I appreciate that. All right, man.
And if he could just shoot. If he could just shoot. I would live with some of the...
And it's not that he doesn't have a bad release, a bad form.
It just never goes in the basket consistently.
Yeah, he works on it. It just doesn't go in.
Because I'm big on passing and playmaking and recognition awareness, and Kelly doesn't have that at all. And that's probably why I'm down on him more than some people are. But if he could just spot up, shoot, and defend his tail off, he would be such a useful piece.
Yeah.
But that shot needs to go in, man. Like in the playoffs, they play... worrying about the playoffs is a very high level problem to have right now, considering what else we're talking about.
That's what they're playing for.
But if they ever had to worry about the playoffs again, and like let's say Boston comes back and Tatum's back and they retool their team next year, they're playing 10 feet off of Kelly at all times and sitting in Joe's lap.
No doubt. He'll shoot it though.
Yeah. He will shoot it. Yeah. It's just he's not going where he wants it to go.
He's at least going to shoot the basketball. Maybe get an offensive rebound from that one. All right, one news and notes. And then we get out of here, let everybody start their weekend. Maybe you're down the shore for the final weekend, whatever it is. One news and note quickly here. Derek, did you see this one? First, when we left the show yesterday, we talked about Jay Wright no longer. He's cutting back on the TV, focus more on Villanova, helping them out on the basketball side and spending more time with his family. Today, did you see that former Nova assistant and head coach, Kyle Neptune, is joining Charles Lee's staff?
I did see that.
As an assistant coach. I didn't see that one coming.
Michael Scotto, I think, reported that one.
I saw Scotto and I saw Shams. But
friend of the show,
let's go with Mike on that one, yes. So
I actually don't know who got it first.
Actually, I was surprised by that. I had no idea that was even in the mix.
Yeah, good for him.
Nice bounce back.
Yeah.
Especially this late, where we're talking training camp here in a couple of weeks for all the teams, and he lands with the Charlotte Hornets as an assistant coach. So there you go. All right, folks, that'll do it for us, and we thank everybody for hanging out with us all week, all summer, man. I mean, we're about to hit September when we're back next week.
September is still summer. I don't put up with any of this bullshit.
So do you go until the 21st when it actually turns into fall, or when it just simply starts to get cold?
I want every day of summer that I was owed.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I will be in the pool when it is 65 degrees outside.
I don't agree with you there.
I will be an absolute maniac.
That's too damn cold.
I don't care, because winter, like I love winter because you've got basketball and football going on. Obviously, I freaking hate winter. I hate it with a passion.
I agree with you.
We
live in Philadelphia.
Every day of summer that I can get.
We're in
don't sell my summer
in
short.
the Northeast. Yeah. So, but we choose to stay here.
No.
But
mostly family
when we
related.
get to the summer, the summer is really good, man. The summer is great. So we're gonna.
And this has been tough because I feel like I don't know. So it's been so cold for like the last 2 or 3 weeks.
But
it's been in the low 70s.
We had some really hot weeks.
Yeah, when we were out in Vegas, it was hot.
Well, when we were here, that's why we had the Pico. When we were running, it's the sun out there.
Maybe when I had COVID that week, it was hot. But I swear, we went to Vegas, came back, got COVID, got healthy, and since then it's been in the low 70s. What are you doing to me? Anyway,
it's going to be a week of 85 in September because that's what happens. It always happens.
I hope so.
We'll get those. We'll definitely get those. All right. It is time for the world famous End the Show roll call.
And I completely forgot about this. So
man.
I wrote none of your names down. I apologize. I
have my list that I normally run through if you want to do some of those.
You mean the one where you just read and pretend they're here when we're doing like a pre-recorded show?
I literally
I'm not faking it, Devon. Yeah. I'm not a fraud.
Yeah, especially with the handles being different, man.
Oh, come on, man.
Come on. And we're the only show that does that for.
Not the only show, but there's definitely there's an A/B testing going on YouTube, and we're in the bad bucket.
Come on, YouTube. Fix it.
Started off with darkness because I see him right there.
Turn the lights down for, not in a bad way, Jay Wright deciding that he wants to take a step back. So turn the lights down, no more TV stuff. Well, he said occasionally he'll mix in, but
which I'm sure is going to end up being more than occasionally.
You know it.
You can't take him away
Turn
from
the lights down. Jay Wright.
The Vic Fan 919, AA Ron.
What up, Aaron?
You done messed up. Doing SIGs. Antoine 92.
I'm not doing SIGs, man. You can have the heaters.
Just with the Purple Heart. I'm going with that. You got to mention the Purple Heart.
And we got to say, she said it's her birthday.
It is her birthday.
Happy birthday,
happy
Purple
pre-birthday.
Heart.
Yep.
Happy birthday.
Winona, even though you disagree with me at times, that's fine.
That's okay.
Marcus Blackstock.
What up, Marcus?
The super chat as well.
Thank you, sir.
Who else do we got here?
Yes, doing SIGs. It is YouTube that decides, not us.
Yeah, it's not us. We would never choose this. Come
No.
on, man. You got to. This is a show about trust. You have got to trust our decision making more than that. We would not do that.
Yes,
Come
no
on.
doubt.
Alpha Ted. What's Alpha Ted again? That's
know.
not Jesse. No, that's not.
That's not Jesse.
Oh, this is gonna piss me off. I'm sorry, Alpha. At least I didn't call you Al Faded. Alpha Ted.
I would do that.
I did do that. He gives me a lot of grief for it.
I would do that.
I now call him Al, actually, because of that.
I would do that. And
Val was in here. I know Val was in here.
Val.
So was Eugene. Let me scroll up. I'm probably going to hit the end of my scroll here pretty soon because everybody is arguing amongst themselves. No, Smy Guy was in here.
What up,
as
Smy
well.
Guy? Good to see you as always.
I think that's all that I have. But we do appreciate each and every one of you who stopped in here, especially those of you who chatted here on a Friday afternoon.
Yes.
Of course, as always, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell icon so you know immediately when we go on the air. It will help us in the algorithm and it'll also help us feel good about ourselves, which Lord knows we need that, especially now that I can't remember Alpha Ted's name. It's really, really going to piss me off. Well, give me back the real name so I don't have to try to remember you by freaking avatars.
So while you were doing that, I said, let me go into one of our old shows where it is that way. But guess what? It still pops up with the old with the way
so
that
it's
it is
even
right
retroactively
now.
with these
Yeah,
names.
it's doing
Man,
that. Yeah,
come on,
guys, get that together. All right, everybody.
Ted, what's your name? Come on, correct me real quick while we're here.
As we say that, I will say that everybody, we thank you. We'll be back. We're off on Monday, so we'll be back on Tuesday for the start of next week.
Stop laughing and remind me of your goddamn name.
We'll be back next week at Tuesday. Thank you to Andrew for producing the show. Thank you to, of course, all of you out there, and we really appreciate everybody.
Theo, thank you. I'm going to jot that down.
Why did I not know that was
We've
Theo?
mentioned it so many times, and it just completely left.
Yeah. I don't know.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Ethan, also stepping in, helping out a little bit, helping Andrew with some things. We appreciate it. Everybody have a great weekend. Be safe out there as well. We'll be back on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Enjoy. Happy weekend. Happy holiday. Bring us a plate on Tuesday because we like food. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.